Now, if you're a victim of Zelle fraud, where there were fraudulent accounts that were remitted through Zelle from your bank account, then this video will help you recover those charges and get the bank to refund you the fees. Unfortunately, there's been over $150 million worth of fraudulent charges that are still unaccounted for and unrefunded by the major banks such as Bank of America, US Bank, Wells Fargo, Chase, Citibank, and so forth. There was a congressional hearing due to this issue too, but not much has changed. Now, keep in mind that if I myself have been a victim of fraud as far as my bank account goes on no more than 4 or 5 occasions, as recently as last year as well too, where there was a $30,000 odd charge, if I recall. And I was able to get those refunded as such. Unfortunately, a whole lot of people have not been lucky. We have helped out countless people get their fraud charges refunded through a process I'm going to show you. You have to follow it step by step. And the good news is that you may be entitled to monetary damages. And I'll get into that, how you could benefit from that as well too with the help of our associate attorneys. But the course of this video is just to give you information and for you to follow the steps to get those charges refunded. Now, Zelle fraud charges fall up under the EFTA, which is the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, which is 15 USC code 1693. And that has certain provisions on how to declare yourself a victim of fraud, how to communicate with a lender, and what the statute of limitations is on that. So you have to act fast. Now, the first thing you want to do when, let's just say if you have a Zelle issue coming up, is if you're looking at the flow chart that I've got here in the description of this video as well too, there should be a link to this. The first thing is, don't make any assumptions first and foremost. If you see a vendor that you don't recognize, call up that vendor and find out what the charge is for, because sometimes vendors go by different names than you remember them by. It may be a vendor you may have done business with in the past that's, charging you a renewal fee or what have you, right? So call up the vendor, find out who they are, and basically do some digging and say, hey, what was this for? What was this charge for? And what have you, and they can let you know. Normally what ends up happening is that if it's a vendor you don't recognize, they'll say, hey, this was for skates that you purchased or what have you, right? Well, you know that you don't skate, then you're 100% sure that this is fraud. So don't make any assumptions. A charge that I don't recognize on my account through Zelle doesn't mean that it's fraud. I want to do some deep digging to confirm if it's fraud or not. Now, once that's done, what you want to do is file what they call an FTC report and a police report. The two of those make up your identity theft report. Now, for the FTC report, you're going to go to identitytheft.gov and file this report online. And what you want to do in that report is be very specific as to what the date was, who the vendor was, and what the amount was for that specific Zelle charge. If you have more than one Zelle charge, list those very, very specifically. If you have, say, multiple charges from one vendor, you can't say, I have multiple charges from one vendor. You want to put the dates, the amounts, and the name of each of the vendors in the FTC report and the police report. Now, the police report, you could check online at your local police department website if they allow for you to file online police reports, or if you have to go in person. If you have to go in person, you'll file that report and they'll take a few days to process that report and give you a file copy back. Now, I cannot stress this enough. Do not file a police report without doing your initial investigation, because what you don't want to do is perjure yourself and say this account is fraud, and later on when the banks do the investigation, they found out that, oh, this is a vendor that went by a different name, but you did business with them. So what could that example be? Well, I go to Highland Shoes and I paid them through Zelle or what have you, right? And then on my card statement or my Zelle statement, it says HS Inc. Well, foolishly go ahead and dispute that and say this is fraudulent, whereas in actuality, that was their acronym. So you don't want to make those kind of mistakes. So that's why I always say you have to be 100% sure and do your due diligence, talk to the vendor, talk to the bank, and find out who charged just to make sure that this is somebody that you did authorize. Now, keep in mind that if you just have a dispute with a vendor, like let's just say if I do business with XYZ vendor and they charge me or they charge me a fee they were not supposed to charge, that is not fraud. Fraud means another human being used a service and used your bank account. That's what the definition of fraud is. Now, keep in mind that the banks, if they do deep digging, they could know that if somebody initiated a Zelle transfer, well, they could find out the IP address. They could even find out the device code, which is every device that's used has a specific code. So they'll be able to dig deep down inside and find this out. Push comes to shove. So you don't want to go ahead and perjure yourself and make a statement which is not true. I've seen people get in immense amount of trouble due to this. Now, moving forward, once you file the FTC report and the identity theft report, you want to go ahead and forward that to the bank in Zelle and or their Zelle department, whatever that may be, and include a dispute letter stating that, hey, I am challenging these fraudulent charges. Here are the dates, here are the amounts, here are the credit, here are the vendors, and send that via certified return receipt mail or email it to the bank directly if they say as such. You want to save receipts of the mailing and make it certified mail if you go ahead and do certified mailing. Otherwise, obviously, you're going to have a email electronic receipt for that as well. Now, wait maybe about 30 to 45 days and call up the bank and see if they've refunded the fees. And if they haven't, then you move to the next step of reaching out to us where we can look into litigation. And our associate attorneys can sue the banks, get you your money back without charging you anything out of your pocket, and they'll get their fees from the banks, and their attorney fees will be paid by the banks if we have legitimate damages as such. And again, if this happens, there's a good chance that you may end up with some damages on your being given to you as well too by the banks. And not only will you have your attorney's fees paid, but you'll also be entitled to some damages if the bank does not refund you the fees and we are able to take on the case. So follow this step, cross your T's, dot your I's. I know this could be a little overwhelming. If you're lost, reach out to us and we can kind of like guide you through this process for free and give you certain template letters. Our email is info+fraud@imaxcredit.com. Once again, that's info+fraud@imaxcredit.com. You can call us at 866-611-4629 or go to our website at www.imaxcredit.com. So without further ado, happy hunting. Take action right now. Get your funds back. Best of luck on this.